chosen one. Heaven pauses for a moment right now. Because something sacred is happening, you have finally done what heaven has been waiting for. The light that had been pressing against the walls of hesitation has at last burst forth, and all of heaven rejoices. You may not have heard the sound, but the echo is still ringing through eternity. God smiled, not because of perfection, but because of your surrender. You need to understand this. The smile of heaven is not cheap. It is not given to those who merely speak of faith, but to those who finally act in faith. You were not called to live among the hesitant or the half-awake. You were called to be the living testimony of courage. When you finally said yes to what God placed in your spirit, that small, trembling yes, the atmosphere changed. Angles moved. Doors responded. It may have looked like a small moment on earth, but in the spirit realm, it was thunder. Every demon that whispered, "You'll never do it," went silent. Every mocking voice that told you, "It's too late," was silenced by divine authority. The Father looked upon you and whispered, "That's my child. That's my chosen one." You did not just obey. You triggered a sequence of heaven's joy that will never stop reverberating. There were times when you thought your delay had disappointed God. You cried over the missed chances, the lost seasons, the failures that made you question your worth. But heaven never stopped believing in you. Mercy followed you through every wrong turn. Grace kept your name written in the book when you thought you had disqualified yourself. The Lord waited patiently, faithfully, until the day you turned your heart back and said, "Here I am." Oh, that's when the smile appeared. Not a smile of relief, but of divine pride. Because heaven had always known this day would come. You didn't stumble back into favor. You stepped into destiny. As the wind of the Spirit blew across the courts of heaven, the angels looked toward the throne and saw the Father rise. His eyes were filled with the kind of joy that can only be born from redemption. He didn't see your flaws, he saw your courage. He saw the faith that refused to die, the love that refused to fade, the hope that refused to vanish. You are not late. Chosen one, you are right on time. Every delay only built the strength required for this moment. Every tear only purified the oil of your anointing. Heaven has written it down. The one who waited faithfully has finally risen. Mandav, listen carefully. This is not coincidence. This is divine alignment. You were never forgotten, never overlooked. Heaven was preparing the stage while you thought nothing was happening. God was protecting you from battles you weren't meant to fight. He was preserving your energy for this exact season. And now, as he smiles, that smile becomes your covering, your confirmation, and your command to move forward. Do not doubt the power of this moment. It might feel quiet, but in the invisible world, you are surrounded. The atmosphere is shifting around you, not because you shouted louder, but because you finally surrendered deeper. Heaven responds not to noise, but to obedience. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 42, verse 31. Those who hope in the Lord will renew strength. They will soar like eagles, run and not faint. That is your promise. That is your season. You are soaring again, not by your own effort, but by the breath of God lifting you higher. Every limitation that once defined you is being stripped away. Every chain that once held you is being broken by the joy of heaven. Now, lift your head. Chosen one. Breathe. Smile back at the one who smiles upon you. Feel that warmth that cannot be explained. It's his approval. You did not fail him, you fulfilled his timing. Before you go, take a prophetic step. If this message speaks to your spirit, show heaven that you receive it. Like this message, share it so another chosen one can awaken. And subscribe to remain under the flow of these divine reminders, because this is only the beginning of your rise. Comment the number 777 below as a sign that you align with heaven's joy. It is your act of faith, your digital altar of gratitude, declaring, God smiled, and I will never go back. Oh, you didn't just make a choice. Chosen one, you shifted realities. The day you said yes to what heaven whispered, an invisible line was crossed. The ground beneath your feet no longer belonged to the realm of hesitation. You stepped into a new dimension of divine movement. You might not have seen the sky split or the earthquake, but in the spirit realm, that's exactly what happened. The world around you began to rearrange itself to match the will of God written over your life. You can feel it, the subtle difference in your atmosphere. The conversations you used to entertain now feel too small. The habits that once defined you have started to lose their grip. Your spirit is lighter, your discernment sharper. It's not that you've become someone else, it's that you've finally become you, the version heaven always knew. Every time a chosen soul decides to obey the divine pull, a spiritual alignment takes place. Old doors close, not as punishment, but as protection. Old relationships fade, not because of rejection, but because the frequency of your purpose has changed. You can't fit where you used to belong because your light no longer matches that level of darkness. This is what the enemy fears most, your awakening. He doesn't tremble at your prayers alone, or at your fasting, or even your words. He trembles when you understand who you are and start to live accordingly. For the moment you realize you are chosen, the war changes. You stop being hunted and start being anointed. That's why the resistance grew stronger right before the breakthrough. It wasn't random, it was spiritual warfare. The darkness always pushes hardest when heaven is about to release something, but you didn't bow this time. You didn't let fear dictate your steps. You moved anyway, trembling, uncertain, but obedient. And that obedience shifted the atmosphere around you. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not rely on your own understanding. That one decision to trust rather than analyze was the key that unlocked heaven's movement. You may not realize it yet, but you entered a different frequency the moment you stopped questioning and started trusting. It wasn't about knowing every detail of the plan, it was about knowing who held the plan. Now, creation itself recognizes you. Situations that once ignored you begin to respond. The doors you thought were locked forever start to shift on their hinges, not because of manipulation or striving, but because heaven's authority travels with you. Every step you take is marked with divine permission. This new realm you've stepped into is not louder. It's deeper. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It's the realm where peace becomes your compass and obedience becomes your strategy. You don't fight the same battles here, because the weapons have changed. Prayer becomes partnership, not pleading. Waiting becomes warfare, not wasting. Look around your life. The things that once intimidated you now appear smaller. The storms that once threatened to drown you now seem unable to reach your height. It's not arrogance, it's ascension. When you shift into divine alignment, perspective changes. You begin to see like heaven sees. You understand that delays were not denials, but divine choreography. Do not fear this transformation. Yes, it feels unfamiliar. Yes, it feels lonely at times. That's because few walk at this altitude. But take heart, the eagles fly alone before they soar together. You are in the training ground of the elevated. You are learning to breathe in the thin air of destiny. The world will not understand this shift. They may call you distant, strange, or overly spiritual. Let them. They don't see what you see. They didn't hear what you heard. You are no longer walking according to public opinion, but divine instruction. When God changes your realm, He also changes your rhythm. And though it feels like you left something behind, heaven assures you that what's ahead is worth it. Every loss is an investment into your next level. Every silence is the sound of divine construction. You are being rebuilt from the inside out. This new season requires new posture, not striving, not proving, but abiding. You no longer chase purpose, you embody it. You no longer beg for favor, you carry it. You no longer seek validation, you radiate it. The shift was not external, it was eternal. Chosen one. Take a deep breath. Feel the air of your new atmosphere. You are walking on holy ground, not a place, but a dimension. This is where faith stops being a concept and becomes your way of life. Heaven celebrates not just your action, but your awakening. The shift was not merely about doing something different. It was about becoming someone new. And though you can't return to what was, you wouldn't want to. The price of obedience is always outweighed by the beauty of transformation. You shifted, and heaven smiled again. Delay has been your greatest teacher. Chosen one. For so long, it felt as though time stood still, like heaven was silent and your prayers evaporated before reaching the throne. But what you didn't see was the hidden construction behind every pause. Delay was not denial, it was divine calibration. God was not ignoring you, He was aligning you. There were seasons when every door you knocked on refused to open. You watched others walk through opportunities while you waited outside, wondering what was wrong with you. But heaven had reserved a door with your name carved upon it, and no human hand could have opened it prematurely. You were not being punished, you were being prepared. When heaven prepares a chosen one, time itself becomes a tool. God stretches moments to build endurance. He slows progress to test motive, and He conceals purpose to reveal purity. Every not yet you faced was a loving safeguard against what you were not ready to carry. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And think about it, if some blessings had arrived too soon, they would have destroyed you. If certain people had stayed longer, they would have distracted you. The delay purified your vision, stripped away counterfeit voices, and forged an unshakable faith. You learned to pray when no one was watching, to believe when evidence was missing, to love when nothing loved you back. That is what makes you dangerous to darkness now. You no longer depend on comfort, you depend on conviction. Delay broke when you did not give up. The moment you chose faith over frustration, Heaven moved. Every moment you thought was wasted was actually storing up divine interest. Every tear was counted. Every sleepless night recorded. Every sigh of your soul heard by the Father. You were never forgotten in the waiting. You were being written into a testimony. Remember how you once begged God to hurry? Yet now you see His timing was flawless. The relationships that ended, the opportunities that vanished, the doors that slammed, all of them conspired for your growth. If one of those had opened too soon, your destiny would have been delayed even longer. The irony of God's grace is that sometimes He delays us to accelerate us later. Now the chains of time are breaking. The season of repetition is over. Cycles of almost and not yet are being interrupted. The same way the dawn follows the longest night. Your breakthrough has followed your longest waiting. You have passed the test of stillness. Chosen one. Heaven is not in a rush, but heaven is never late. What God has prepared is about to meet the moment you are ready to hold it. That's why peace is returning to you now. You no longer wrestle with impatience, because you finally understand that divine timing is mercy disguised as slowness. When you were delayed, you learned to listen. When nothing worked, you learned to worship. When everyone left, you learned that you were never truly alone. You discovered that the waiting room was actually the training ground for your next level. Look closely. The signs of acceleration are already around you. Conversations align. Unexpected help appears. Ideas flow freely again. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. The atmosphere of delay is breaking, and heaven is breathing movement into your life once more. Do not mourn the years that seemed lost. Every delay has been redeemed by divine purpose. The things that once mocked you will now testify on your behalf. The walls that resisted you are now becoming doors. Time itself bends to the will of the Creator who holds your destiny. So lift your eyes. The waiting has not weakened you, it has weaponized you. You are no longer the one who doubts, but the one who discerns, the one who waits wisely, walks boldly, and wins quietly. Delay broke because you refused to break. And now, as you stand on the threshold of manifestation, heaven whispers, "See, I was there all along." The delay was never about punishment, it was about preparation, purification, and positioning. Pause here. Chosen one. Let gratitude rise in your spirit. Let peace fill the space where frustration once lived. For the breaking of delay is not just an event, it's a revelation. You realize now that heaven never left you waiting. Heaven was waiting with you. Now, as a prophetic act of agreement, write these words below. It is time. Not as a wish, but as a declaration, because the wait has served its purpose, and your future has already begun. Before the world saw anything change, the war was already won in the invisible. The moment you decided to believe again, to lift your head after being struck down, the heavens recorded victory in your name. You did not feel triumphant then, you felt tired, uncertain, maybe even forgotten. Yet, that quiet endurance, the choice to stand when everything told you to quit, terrified darkness more than any loud declaration ever could. You see, battles in the spiritual realm are not fought with noise, but with obedience. While you were simply surviving, angels were surrounding. When you whispered, "God, I still trust you," entire demonic assignments were cancelled. You didn't see the confrontation, But heaven did. And the reason you're still here, still breathing, still believing it's proof that you already won a war that many didn't even know you were fighting. The hidden war wasn't about your circumstances, it was about your identity. The enemy wasn't after your possessions, your peace, or even your relationships. He was after your recognition, that moment when you would finally see who you are in God. Because once you know that, you become unstoppable. Once you walk in that awareness, no amount of fear, gossip, or betrayal can chain you again. The word of the Lord speaks in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That verse isn't a warning, it's a revelation. It reminds you that your battle has never been with people. Every conflict, every misunderstanding, every betrayal, they were just shadows of a greater war. The enemy hoped to distract you with faces so you'd forget the real fight was for your focus. But you learned to look beyond the surface, to respond in prayer instead of retaliation. That shift was your victory. While others saw your silence as weakness, heaven recognized it as strategy. There's power in stillness when your heart belongs to God. You stopped fighting in the natural and started commanding in the spirit. You began to speak peace over chaos, light over confusion, and hope over despair. Those moments of hidden prayer were nuclear in heaven's arsenal. Every whisper you released became a weapon that dismantled unseen altars of opposition. Chosen one, remember the nights when fear crept in like a shadow, the times your chest tightened, your mind screamed, and you wondered if you'd make it through another day. Heaven watched you fight in silence and called you courageous. You didn't know it then, but your endurance was rewriting destiny. You were conquering ancient patterns of defeat that had lingered through generations. You broke cycles simply by not breaking. You overcame darkness not by being perfect, but by staying present. Even when faith felt like a flickering flame, you protected it. You held on. That's what warriors of light do. They guard the flame until the morning comes. And now, you stand where many fell, not because you are stronger, but because grace held you upright. The unseen war has ended, and your scars are your medals. The battles that should have destroyed you have instead defined you. Every sleepless night became a seed of authority. Every tear transformed into oil that now rests upon your hands. You might not feel like a warrior, but heaven sees you as one. The calm you carry now isn't weakness, it's aftermath. It's the peace of one who has walked through fire and found that God was in the flames all along. Look back, not in sorrow, but in revelation. You'll realize that the things which hurt you most also taught you how to hear His voice. You learned to discern His whisper, even in chaos. You discovered that worship is the language of warfare, and forgiveness is its greatest weapon. The war you won in secret is now your authority in public. When you speak, darkness listens. When you pray, the atmosphere shifts. When you walk into a room, light recognizes you. You don't need to prove it, you simply carry it. And this is why the enemy fears you now, because you've realized the truth. You were never the victim, you were the vessel. You weren't surrounded by trouble. Trouble was surrounded by grace. Heaven didn't just celebrate your survival, heaven promoted you through it. You are no longer fighting to prove your worth. You are walking in proof of victory. The hidden war is over, and the crown of endurance rests upon your head. Rest now, chosen one, not in complacency, but in confidence. The battle is behind you. The lessons are within you. The peace ahead of you is the sound of heaven declaring, "It is finished." And there are moments in heaven when silence falls across the throne room and light gathers like breath before laughter. That's what happened the day your surrender was seen. The angels did not just applaud your endurance, they honored your posture. Because you, chosen one, did something few have the courage to do. You laid down your will and said, "Not my plan, but yours." And in that sacred surrender, heaven crowned you. This crown was not made of gold or jewels. It was woven from obedience. Every strand represents a moment you trusted when you didn't understand, a prayer you whispered through pain, a step you took when fear said, "Stay." That invisible crown sits upon your spirit now, radiating authority and humility all at once. It doesn't shout. It shines. It doesn't demand attention. It carries presence, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old, in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. That's what you wear now, the crown of life. It's not a reward for being flawless, but for being faithful. You didn't earn it through perfection, you received it through perseverance. The weight of it isn't heavy on your head, but wholly on your heart. You might not see it in the mirror, but creation recognizes it. You've been marked by heaven's approval. This crown carries a fragrance, the aroma of surrender. Wherever you walk, the atmosphere shifts. People won't always understand why they feel peace around you, why conviction rises in them, or why hope awakens suddenly. It's because the oil of your obedience flows wherever you go. You are no longer just surviving life, you are transmitting heaven. Think of this crown as light woven into your spirit. Each trial polished it. Each heartbreak strengthened it. Each delay refined its glow. God didn't waste a single wound. Every scar you carry has been repurposed into brilliance. That is why the enemy can no longer touch you the same way you've already been forged by fire. Your crown is a reminder that the kingdom of God values endurance more than speed, faithfulness more than fame. The world crowns those who shine on stages, but heaven crowns those who remain steadfast in shadows. You, the unseen one, have become a living sermon without ever needing a pulpit. And now, as you carry that unseen radiance, heaven gently invites you to share that light. Just as a lamp loses nothing by lighting another, your glow grows when shared. Every act of generosity, every word of encouragement, every seed of kindness expands the borders of your influence. When you give, you multiply. In this moment, consider how you can keep that divine current flowing. Support what feeds your spirit, not out of obligation, but out of recognition. If this message has poured into your soul, pour back into it, like water returning to the river. What you give continues the cycle of grace. When you share, others find hope. When you like and subscribe, you help the message travel to those who have forgotten heaven's language. And yes, if your heart feels stirred, sow a seed, not as payment, but as participation. Donations are not transactions, they are declarations. Every gift says, I believe in what heaven is doing here. Imagine your giving as adding another stone to the altar of light. We are building together an altar that reminds the world God still speaks. This isn't manipulation, it's multiplication. The kingdom moves through willing hearts, not pressured ones. If you feel that gentle nudge, let it be your offering of gratitude, your echo of faith. But even if all you can give today is your attention, your amen, your willingness to walk in this truth, heaven sees that too. You see, the crown on your head carries responsibility. It calls you not only to receive light, but to reflect it. The world is desperate for authenticity, people starving for something real. You are that light in motion. When you share this message, you're not promoting a voice, you're amplifying a vision, the vision of awakened hearts, healed souls, restored hope. Let this be your act of worship. Share truth. Give where you are led. Support what lifts you higher. Because every like, every share, every small act of kindness is not just digital interaction, it's a ripple of faith. Someone somewhere will hear your echo and find courage to rise again. You have been crowned not just to be seen, but to serve. Not to gather followers, but to gather souls. So, wear that invisible crown boldly. Walk with quiet confidence, knowing heaven's light rests upon you. You are living proof that surrender is strength, that humility is power, and that faithfulness never goes unnoticed. Your crown glows. Chosen one, and with every step you take, God smiles again. In the unseen realm, ripples never stop moving once they begin. What you did, that single act of obedience, that quiet yes in the secret place, sent waves across dimensions. The spirit realm felt the vibration of your surrender. The moment you aligned your heart with God's will, heaven's current began to flow through you like electricity through a living wire. Chosen one. Understand this. Obedience is never isolated. Every step you take in alignment shifts more than your own life. It touches generations before you and generations yet to come. What felt small on earth caused turbulence in the heavens. Darkness had built a system around your silence, expecting you to stay bound by fear or hesitation. But when you obeyed, that system collapsed. The Spirit whispers through the book of Acts. Chapter 16, verse 26. Suddenly, there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken, and immediately all the doors were opened, and everyone's chains were loosed. And that is what obedience does. It shakes foundations. It opens doors not only for you, but for those connected to your destiny. You didn't just free yourself, you set captives free without even realizing it. Your yes was the earthquake the enemy never saw coming. Maybe you still wonder, can my small step really cause that much movement? The answer is yes. Because obedience echoes. God never measures impact by scale. He measures it by surrender. One whisper of obedience can echo louder than a lifetime of noise. Heaven operates through resonance, and your heart just became an instrument tuned to divine frequency. Picture this, a stone dropped into still water. You can't control how far the ripples travel, but you know they move outward endlessly. That's your obedience. It began within you, but now touches realms you cannot see. Workplaces, families, nations. Somewhere, someone's spirit is being stirred because you dared to follow what God placed inside you. And yet, this power doesn't puff you up, it humbles you. You realize the ripple was never your doing. You were simply willing, and God moved through your willingness. The true miracle of obedience is not that things change, it's that you become part of heaven's movement itself. You see, heaven is strategic. The moment you align, it repositions angels, redirects resources, and rearranges timelines. There are people who will find their deliverance because of what you just did. You won't meet most of them, but eternity will reveal it. The universe itself now bears record of your yes. Your obedience has altered atmospheres. Even your home feels different. Your thoughts lighter. Your sleep deeper. That's not imagination, it's divine realignment. The weight that once pressed on you has lifted, replaced by quiet authority. You're walking under a new gravity now, one that pulls blessings instead of burdens. Don't underestimate this shift. It's more than emotional release, it's spiritual activation. You've stepped into a current that carries both responsibility and revelation. Every word you speak now carries weight. Every prayer you whisper releases movement. Every act of kindness multiplies unseen grace. Chosen one. Understand, obedience invites acceleration. You don't have to chase opportunity anymore. Opportunity begins chasing you. Heaven trusts those who respond quickly to its voice, the same way a conductor lifts the baton and the orchestra follows. Heaven now follows your motion, not because you're in control, but because you're in agreement. And yes, the enemy felt it too. The ripple you caused disrupted his calculations. He counted on your fear, your delay, your doubt. But when you moved, the map of his influence tore. That's why resistance may spike for a moment. It's not punishment. It's proof that your obedience worked. This is why God smiles over you tonight. You didn't just move, you became movement. Your obedience has turned into melody, and heaven is still singing it. Pause for a moment. Breathe. Feel the air that surrounds you. It's lighter now, because freedom has taken residence. You are no longer bound to yesterday's weight. You are standing in the vibration of divine joy. Now, as a sign of alignment and faith, comment the number 888 below. 8 is the number of new beginnings. And 888 declares heaven's overflow, a prophetic act that says, I am part of this divine ripple. I move where God moves. Let that number be your agreement with heaven's current, your silent amen to the unseen quake that your obedience has caused. Because the ripple is still expanding, and heaven is still smiling, there is a sacred silence that follows victory, a stillness not of emptiness, but of trust. You have entered that space now. It is the moment after the test, when the Father leans closer and whispers, now I can trust you, not because you were perfect, but because you were proven. Every storm, every delay, every hidden battle has shaped your heart into a vessel that can carry the weight of His promise. You didn't even realize you were being tested for trust. God wasn't watching to see if you would succeed in public. He was watching how you behaved in private. The moments you chose integrity over convenience, faith over feelings, stillness over shouting, those were the examinations that heaven counted. You passed them not through brilliance, but through surrender, as the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 2. Now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful. Yuka, and faithful you have been." The Father saw every hidden act of obedience that no one clapped for, every tear that fell with no audience but Him. He watched when you could have manipulated outcomes, but instead chose to wait. You thought you were stuck, but heaven saw you as steadfast. You were being entrusted with weightier matters, authority born not from words, but from wounds. When God trusts a soul, He first tests its foundation. He shakes what can be shaken, so that only what is eternal remains. That's why some things fell apart, not to break you, but to reveal what couldn't be broken: the friends who left, the plans that failed, the prayers that seemed unanswered. They were chisels in the sculptor's hand, shaping the masterpiece of your faith. Trust is not granted quickly in heaven's economy. It is forged through consistency. You kept showing up in prayer when passion faded. You kept loving people who misunderstood you. You kept believing even when nothing around you agreed with your faith. That kind of persistence is rare, and God noticed. This is why the Father can now release what He once withheld. He had to ensure your hands were steady enough to hold it. He had to know that blessing wouldn't become an idol, that power wouldn't corrupt purity. Now, as heaven looks upon you, there's no hesitation, only delight. He knows that when He gives, you will give. When He sends, you will go. When He speaks, you will obey. It's important to understand what divine trust really means. It's not about prestige or position. It's about partnership. God no longer has to convince you of His goodness. You've experienced it. He no longer has to explain delay. You've learned to wait. You're no longer a child of impulse. You're a steward of intention. Look back and see the pattern. Every time you thought you were being delayed, you were being deepened. Every silence was a strengthening. Every "not yet" was heaven saying, "I'm still building your capacity." The old you would have panicked, the new you praise. The old you would have complained, the new you worships. You've evolved from seeking blessings to becoming one, and so heaven shifts its posture toward you. You are no longer merely watched, you are entrusted. The Father begins to reveal deeper mysteries, secrets meant only for those who can carry them without pride. He begins to open paths that were hidden from the impulsive. You've graduated from survival into stewardship. Chosen one. Understand this: when God trusts you, the enemy fears you differently. Hell cannot intimidate a soul that no longer negotiates obedience. You've become untouchable, not because of arrogance, but because of alignment. The darkness can't manipulate what is already surrendered. Now you carry a calm authority, not loud, but undeniable. You don't need to announce that you've changed. The atmosphere already knows. People who once underestimated you sense it, even if they can't name it. You've crossed from testing into trust, and trust carries fragrance, the scent of heaven's confidence. This is why your prayers will now carry new weight. Doors will respond faster. Words will pierce deeper, because trust is heaven's endorsement, the divine signature upon your spirit, saying, "This one speaks for me." Enter, guard that trust well. Protect it with humility and gratitude. Keep your motives clean, your heart soft, your ears open. You are now a vessel through which heaven moves freely. And as you walk in this new level, remember, the test was never meant to break you. It was meant to prove you trustworthy. And you are. Heaven smiles. The Father nods, and the angels record it in eternal ink. Trusted. Unquote. Some victories echo beyond a single lifetime. What happened when you said yes was not contained within your years. It traveled backward and forward through your bloodline. You may not see all its effects yet, but heaven has already traced the ripple. Your obedience has begun to heal what generations before you could not. There were things in your family that seemed unbreakable cycles of fear, silence, pride, or pain. They whispered through generations like an old song. No one knew how to stop singing. But the moment you turned toward God with a sincere heart, the melody changed. What once moved through your lineage as bondage now meets resistance in you. Heaven calls you the breaker of patterns, the one who stood in the gap, as the prophet declared in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 6, "But showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments." And you are living proof of that promise. The love and obedience you walk in today are rewriting your family's story. You are not merely living for yourself. You are the hinge upon which the past and future swing. When you prayed in silence, ancestors who longed for freedom but never found it rejoiced. When you forgave those who wounded you, it sent light backward through time. When you worshipped through pain, heaven heard the echo of countless prayers once buried under despair. God looked down the line of your blood and chose you as the vessel of reversal. That's why your battles have felt heavier than others. Proust. You weren't only fighting for your life, you were contending for those who came before you and those who will follow. Your warfare was never personal, it was generational. You were born into patterns of repetition, the same disappointments, the same heartbreaks, the same betrayals, wearing new faces. The enemy assumed you would surrender to familiarity like those before you. But something in you, that divine spark, refused to repeat what you were born to redeem. You stopped running in circles and began walking in covenant. That was the moment history bent. The generational night is breaking. What once seemed hereditary fear, poverty, addiction, silence has met the dawn of your faith. You have become a living line of demarcation between what was and what will be. When you pray now, your words do not rise alone. They carry the weight of generations waiting for redemption. Chosen one, understand this sacred responsibility. The healing you are experiencing is not random. It is restoration that travels through your DNA. The bloodline that once carried pain now carries promise. Where there was conflict, peace will dwell. Where there was curse, blessing takes root. You are the living intersection of heaven and heritage. It hasn't been easy. The warfare intensified the moment you began to change. Old temptations resurfaced. Relationships tested you, and memories tried to pull you back. That was not coincidence. That was resistance. The darkness that once ruled your lineage fought back against the light rising within you. But light does not argue with darkness. It simply shines. And you, chosen one, refuse to dim. You've cried for reasons you couldn't explain. Sometimes sadness, sometimes relief, sometimes both. That was the sound of generations exhaling through you. Every tear you shed was a baptism of lineage, washing away centuries of unspoken grief. You have been breaking chains with compassion, healing trauma through forgiveness, and destroying altars through worship. Now, heaven records a new decree over your family. The curse has met its end. The same home that once echoed with pain will now resonate with laughter. The children that come after you will know peace as their normal, not their miracle. The blessings you've prayed for will not only rest upon you, they will multiply through you. Understand? This is not pride, it's purpose. You are the chosen repairer of the breach, the bridge between broken and blessed. Every time you choose love over bitterness, the chain weakens. Every time you speak truth instead of silence, the wall cracks. Every time you choose faith, darkness loses another foothold. The night has not vanished completely, but the dawn has begun its song. The generations before you fought hard to survive. You are the first to thrive. You are the first to stand unshaken in full light, crowned with understanding, and because of that, your descendants will know freedom without having to fight the same battles. You have become the answered prayer of those who came before. You are heaven's response to a cry that echoed through blood and time. Lord, send someone to break this. And you did. The light that broke through your family's night now burns steadily within you. Guard it. Nurture it. Let it expand until every shadow is gone. You are the beginning of something that will never end, a generation marked by grace, a lineage baptized in light. When heaven aligns its forces, everything shifts. The unseen armies that once stood at a distance have now drawn closer. You might not feel the ground tremble, but the spirit world has entered formation around you. The day you chose obedience, the day you broke cycles and stood in faith, the command was issued: protect this one. The alignment of heaven's forces is no metaphor, it's movement. Angels have been reassigned to your case. Places once hostile now soften. People you haven't met yet are being stirred in their hearts to help you. Roads are clearing, not by coincidence, but by command. When God marks a life with purpose, creation cooperates. As the ancient record declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11, He will command His angels to guard you in all your ways. That is not poetry, that is policy in heaven's government. You walk under divine security now. The same light that rescued you from despair now stands as a shield, even in silence. Heaven is busy on your behalf. You don't need to see the movement to know it's happening. You can sense it. That sudden peace, that inexplicable protection, that closed door that later made sense, all evidence of divine coordination. Heaven's alignment is perfect because heaven never reacts, it orchestrates. Before you face opposition, heaven has already prepared provision. Before the enemy plans his next scheme, God has already sent reinforcement. The battlefield is never empty, it's occupied by grace. Think about Elijah's servant who once trembled at the sight of surrounding enemies. Elijah prayed, and suddenly the servant's eyes opened, and he saw the hills filled with chariots of fire. That vision wasn't new, it was always there, unseen, until faith cleared the fog. The same is true for you. Around your life stands an invisible defense line, glowing with heaven's fire. There have been moments when you almost lost everything: peace, stability, hope, but you didn't. You didn't because heaven intercepted. You were being protected in ways you'll only understand later. That car accident that didn't happen, that relationship that ended just in time, that opportunity that fell through all were divine interventions disguised as disappointments. Now, the alignment intensifies. It's not just about protection, it's about positioning. Angels don't merely guard, they guide. They move people, shift resources, and prepare places for divine appointments. Every conversation, every delay, every closed door is part of a greater choreography. You are not drifting, you are being directed. When heaven aligns, confusion breaks. You begin to sense clarity where chaos once lived. You stop forcing outcomes and start flowing with divine rhythm. You start noticing signs, small, quiet confirmations that you are on the right path. The more you trust that rhythm, the faster alignment manifests. And yet, this isn't a time to boast, it's a time to listen. Because alignment requires sensitivity. Heaven moves like a whisper, not a shout. The same angels who fight with fire also lead with gentleness. You will sense them in sudden peace, in intuitive guidance, in those inexplicable urges to act or wait. That's how heaven directs the aligned. Chosen one. You must also remember that alignment brings attention as light expands. So does resistance. But the difference now is that you don't fight alone. The forces that warred against you before are now outnumbered. Heaven's armies don't lose. They enforce victory, already won. That's why fear no longer fits you. It cannot dwell where confidence in God abides. Even now, the atmosphere around you hums with activity. The plans of the enemy are being dismantled before they reach you. The words spoken against you are dissolving before they land. The roads that seemed blocked are beginning to open like gates before a king's procession. Heaven has cleared the way. Stand still for a moment and sense it, the quiet authority around you. You are not surrounded by chaos anymore. You are surrounded by command. God's voice has gone forth, and everything that belongs to you is responding. When you move from this moment, walk with awareness. Every step is covered. Every breath is guarded. You are never out of sight. You walk under open skies and divine eyes. And as a prophetic declaration, write these words below. Heaven moves. Now type it not as a comment, but as a covenant. When you declare heaven moves, you're aligning your words with what's already happening in the unseen. You're acknowledging that you are no longer walking alone, that angels go before you, beside you, and behind you. It's your seal of faith that says, I recognize the alignment. I receive it. Because heaven is not waiting for permission, it's already moving in your favor. There is a sacred law written into creation. What is done in secret is never forgotten by heaven. The world might overlook the quiet labor, but God never misses a moment. Chosen one. All those nights you prayed unseen, all those moments you served when no one said thank you, they were not wasted. Heaven has kept record. And now, the season of recognition begins. You are stepping into the chapter where faith becomes sight. What you sowed in tears will bloom in public testimony. What you built in silence will now stand as evidence of divine partnership. This isn't a reward for performance. It's the unveiling of proof that God never forgets the faithful. The Spirit reminds us through the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 4. Your Father, who sees in secret, will reward you openly. You carried faith like a seed hidden beneath soil. Nobody saw it grow, but God was watering it all along. And now, like a garden at sunrise, your life begins to unfold in color. People who once questioned your silence will soon witness your harvest. You are not just receiving favor, you are becoming a living testimony of what faithfulness produces. But as heaven lifts you into visibility, it also invites you into humility. The reward isn't just recognition, it's responsibility. You've been entrusted with influence not to boast, but to bless. When light shines upon you, it's not for decoration, it's for direction. The glow that rests on you now is meant to guide others out of darkness. Think of a lighthouse. It stands alone on the edge of storms, not to admire itself, but to help others find their way home. That's you now. Your story, your scars, your steady endurance. They are the beam of light for those still lost at sea. So when the waves of attention rise, anchor yourself in gratitude. Remember who calmed your storms when no one else could. And as that light grows brighter, heaven gently calls you to keep its flame alive. Every act of support, every gesture of gratitude, every seed of generosity keeps the message flowing. When you share this word, you extend the lighthouse's reach. When you like or subscribe, you keep the fire burning for those still wandering in the dark. And if your heart feels stirred to give, do it not as a duty, but as worship. Think of your giving as oil for the lamp. Each offering, no matter how small, is a drop of oil that keeps the light shining. The flame of faith burns brighter when many hands bring their oil together. This is not charity, it's partnership in purpose. Perhaps you've never thought of digital acts alike, a share, a donation, as sacred. But they can be. Each one is a ripple of light. Each one says, I believe in what heaven is doing through this. Every click is a seed sown into eternity's algorithm, not man's, but God's. Because when faith spreads, heaven celebrates. Imagine your generosity as rain falling over a dry field. Somewhere, someone's soul is waiting for the very message you've already received. Your simple act might be the drop that awakens their desert into bloom. This is how the kingdom multiplies, through small gestures with eternal consequences. Chosen one. Don't underestimate the power of your participation. You are not a spectator. You are part of heaven's living network. Every connection you make, every time you share truth, you become a conduit of grace. The same hand that once reached out in desperation now becomes the hand that lifts others. And as you give, in whatever form you can, remember this truth. Heaven never lets generosity go unnoticed. God doesn't measure the size of the gift, but the sincerity of the heart. The widow's coin still echoes through eternity because it carried faith more than value. So let your heart be open. Share the message that stirred your spirit. Support the mission that speaks to your soul. Not to build a platform, but to build a bridge for others to cross from despair to destiny. The Father delights in cheerful givers, in faithful builders, in those who light candles instead of cursing darkness. That's you. Your contribution, your engagement, your faith, all of it adds fuel to the movement of light. As you move forward, may every like be a declaration, every share a seed, every act of giving a form of gratitude. For what you are part of is not content, it is covenant. Heaven is unveiling you, blessing you, and calling you to pass that blessing on. The light you carry is not meant to fade, it's meant to multiply. And as it does, heaven smiles, for the faithful are finally seen. You've reached the turning point. Chosen one, the season where every no you heard begins to shift its tone. The closed doors, the unanswered prayers, The painful rejections that once felt like divine silence are being rewritten. The Father is revealing that none of those denials were meant to destroy you. They were meant to protect direction. Heaven never says no without preparing a better yes. And you remember those moments clearly when you stood in front of opportunities that seemed perfect. And yet something unseen blocked the way. You cried. You questioned. You pleaded. You thought you were being punished. But what you didn't see was the hidden mercy in the denial. God was not keeping you from something good. He was keeping you for something greater. The Word of God declares in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Oh, this is not a verse for comfort, only it's a declaration of divine architecture. God is a builder who never wastes material. Every disappointment was raw material for construction. The things that fell apart were actually forming foundations for what's coming. You didn't lose, you were relocated. Every no you received carried information heaven could see but you could not. The door that didn't open would have led to confusion. The relationship that ended would have drained your destiny. The dream that delayed would have demanded a version of you that wasn't yet ready. Heaven's no was simply saying, wait until the timing is safe. Look back now with clearer eyes. You see that what you thought was rejection was redirection. The path that seemed to vanish was rerouted to align with your purpose. Even the moments that broke your heart were guiding your feet toward healing. Heaven has always been consistent. You just needed time to grow into recognition. This is the reversal of every no. God is taking what once closed and turning it into confirmation. The doors that once refused to move will now open, not because you pushed harder, but because the season has changed. You don't have to knock on the same walls anymore. The same places that said, "Not now," will soon say, "Where have you been?" But here's the deeper truth. Sometimes the reversal isn't about reopening the old, it's about revealing the new. God's redemption doesn't always revisit what was lost. Sometimes He builds something entirely different. Something so precise, so peaceful, that it makes every previous disappointment make sense. Chosen one. This is what divine maturity feels like. Peace with God's timing. Gratitude for His protection. And readiness for His unveiling. You've grown beyond needing explanations. You trust the architect now. You understand that if a door is closed, it's because the floor behind it isn't finished. There's a subtle joy rising inside you, not the loud kind, but the steady hum of peace. You realize that your path was never random. Even detours were data in heaven's design. That job that didn't last. That friend who walked away. That opportunity that expired each was a line in the poem of your becoming. The Father specializes in divine reversals. He takes what was meant for harm and spins it into harmony. He turns delay into demonstration. He converts pain into purpose. What the enemy meant as a stumbling stone becomes your stepping place. Soon, you will stand before what once rejected you, and you will feel no bitterness, only understanding, because you'll know now that the no was necessary. It pushed you deeper into prayer, sharper into discernment, stronger into purpose. Had you been accepted by everything you desired, you would never have discovered what truly belonged to you. You were never waiting for a door to open. The door was waiting for you to become the one who could walk through it. That is why heaven takes its time, not to frustrate, but to fortify. Look at you now, steadier, Wise. Unshakable. You no longer chase validation from doors, you carry the key within you. The reversal has already begun, not outside, but inside. The peace you feel now is the first miracle. The opportunities that follow will only confirm what's already true. The no's of yesterday were the yeses of heaven in disguise. The season of reversal is not about revenge, it's about revelation. It's the moment when you realize God never said no to you. He said no for you. And now, with a calm heart and clear vision, you can finally thank Him for the very doors that closed, because each one led you here to the threshold of divine restoration, where every denial turns into destiny fulfilled. Acceleration, that's the word written over this chapter of your life. Chosen one. You can feel it already, can't you? Time seems to move differently now. What used to take years begins to unfold in weeks. What once drained your strength now flows with ease. It's not coincidence, it's divine speed. When heaven smiles, momentum follows. The season of struggle was not wasted. It built the foundation for this pace. Every delay that once frustrated you was storing potential energy, like an arrow pulled backward before release. Now, heaven has let go of the bowstring. You are in motion not because you forced it, but because you're finally aligned. The Apostle Paul reminds us in the book of Amos, chapter 9, verse 13, "The days are coming, declares the Lord, when the reaper will be overtaken by the plowman and the planter by the one treading grapes." That is your season divine acceleration. What normally takes a lifetime will happen in a moment. The order of things is collapsing under favor's influence. You are stepping into what others thought impossible because you waited when others rushed. You see, God never forgets preparation. When He moves suddenly, it's never random. He accelerates only those who are anchored. The reason you can move faster now is because your roots grew deeper while you waited. Heaven never builds skyscrapers on shallow soil. Acceleration isn't chaos, it's concentration. It's when years of waiting converge into one perfect moment. The Spirit of God begins to breathe upon every dormant seed, the ideas you abandoned, the dreams you shelved, the visions you thought had expired. Suddenly, they begin to sprout again. You may feel overwhelmed by the pace, but remember, this is what you prayed for. You asked for open doors, now they're opening all at once. You asked for confirmation, now it's everywhere. It's not meant to scare you, it's meant to show you that the tide has turned. Be careful not to mistake acceleration for anxiety. The pace is faster, yes, but grace has increased to match it. You are not being rushed, you are being carried. It's like a river in flood. When you stop resisting, it carries you farther in moments than effort could in years. Flow. Don't fight. Chosen one. God is redeeming lost time. Every year you thought was wasted is being folded into blessing. Every missed opportunity is being replaced with multiplied favor. Heaven's economy doesn't refund what was lost, it multiplies it. Look closely. Divine patterns are aligning. Conversations that seemed insignificant now lead to doors of destiny. People you thought were gone return at the exact right moment. Resources appear without explanation. You don't have to chase provision. Provision is chasing purpose. This is also why discernment is crucial in acceleration. Not every open door is divine, and not every invitation is assignment. The faster you move, the more clearly you must listen. Keep your spirit quiet, so your steps stay precise. You'll know heaven's opportunities by peace, not pressure. The right doors don't demand, they invite. The right people don't drain, they confirm. You won't need to strive for what's meant for you. It will arrive, dressed in divine timing. And remember, acceleration is not reward. It's responsibility. To move faster means to love deeper, forgive quicker, and respond softer. You're being entrusted with influence, and influence magnifies both character and calling. The more heaven lifts you, the more humility must anchor you. In this season, miracles will happen so naturally that you might forget they're miracles. Don't. Stay in awe. The same God who restores time also deserves your time in gratitude, in worship, in silence. There will be moments you'll wonder, is this really happening? And heaven will whisper back, yes, because you waited. You are not behind. You are exactly on schedule. The slow path has become the runway, and now you are airborne. Your speed now isn't just for you, it's for those attached to your purpose. The overflow will reach them too. Others will be accelerated simply by staying close to your obedience. That's the contagious nature of favor. And now, as a prophetic act of agreement with heaven's acceleration, comment the number 555 below. Grace multiplied 555, the divine code for movement, for transformation, for rapid release. Type it as your declaration that you receive the pace of heaven without fear, that you are ready to move with God's wind, not against it. 555, your sign that the days of stagnation are over, and your destiny is running on heaven's time, because the clock of delay has stopped ticking. The gears of purpose are turning again. You have stepped into acceleration, and heaven is delighted to watch you fly. The air feels different, now charged, alive, purposeful. You have entered the realm of boldness. Chosen one. Heaven has clothed you in a mantle woven from courage and clarity. It drapes over your shoulders like fire that doesn't burn, but empowers. For too long, you walked carefully, afraid to speak too loudly, afraid to shine too brightly. But that season is over. The same hands that once trembled in uncertainty now carry authority. You are not arrogant, you are awakened. The fear that once silenced you has no legal claim anymore. You are standing under heaven's endorsement, equipped not with pride, but with power. This boldness is not about volume, it's about conviction. You don't need to raise your voice to carry weight. Your presence itself now speaks the language of purpose. The ancient words recorded in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9, still echo today. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Oh, this command wasn't given only to Joshua standing before conquest. It's given to you, standing before destiny. The battles you face are not fought with swords, but with truth. And now, heaven has called you to stand tall in that truth, not passively, not cautiously, but boldly. There's a reason you felt the shaking before the stillness. Boldness is born in brokenness. The courage you carry now was forged in the fires of rejection, misunderstanding, and loss. You learned to speak when your voice quivered, to stand when your knees trembled, to walk when your path vanished beneath you. Every fearful step became a rehearsal for this moment of divine confidence. God's boldness isn't reckless. It's a peace that roars quietly. It's the calm of a lion who doesn't need to prove his strength, because he knows who he is. That's the kind of courage you've inherited, not desperate, not defensive, but deeply assured. Boldness doesn't mean you stop feeling fear. It means fear no longer decides. You may still feel the tremor, but you move anyway, because faith, at its core, is movement. The mantle on your life demands it. You were never meant to shrink to fit comfort. You were meant to expand into calling. Look at how far you've come from uncertainty to understanding, from hesitation to holy confidence. The same places where you once stayed silent will now hear your voice. And it won't be your voice alone. It will carry heaven's authority. You will speak, and hearts will soften. You will move, and doors will open. You will act, and darkness will retreat. This boldness doesn't come from striving. It flows from intimacy. The closer you walk with God, the less room fear has to breathe. His presence becomes your certainty. His word becomes your strategy. You no longer need the approval of the crowd when you've already received the approval of the King, chosen one. Boldness will demand new actions. It will pull you into spaces that once intimidated you. It will nudge you to confront injustice, to speak life into silence, to be the one who steps first while others hesitate. You are not reckless, you are righteous. You're moving with the rhythm of heaven's heartbeat. People may misunderstand this confidence. They'll call it pride, not realizing it's peace. They'll mistake your conviction for control, not realizing it's surrender. But that's all right. The mantle you carry was never meant to make sense to those still hiding from their own light. This season will reveal your voice, not just your words, but your sound. Every chosen soul has a sound, a frequency that shakes darkness and awakens destiny. Yours has been refined through silence and struggle. Now, when you speak, heaven harmonizes with you. Be bold in love. It will heal where bitterness once ruled. Be bold in forgiveness. It will free what hate tried to hold. Be bold. In truth, it will cut chains you didn't even know existed. And be bold in peace. It will confound every storm that tries to rise again. The mantle of boldness does not make you untouchable. It makes you unstoppable. There's a difference. You will still feel the wind of opposition, but you will not be moved by it, because your foundation is not built on comfort, it's built on calling. You are not here to hide, you are here to herald. You carry heaven's decree inside human form. Every step you take declares, light has come, and where light walks, fear flees. Walk forward, chosen one, not as one who hopes to be brave, but as one who already is. The mantle is on you. The time is now. The voice within you is no longer whispering, it's thundering with purpose. And the world is ready to hear it. Time, the one thing you once feared losing, is now bending in your favor. What seemed wasted, lost, or too far gone has not disappeared. It's being rewritten. Chosen one, the Redeemer of time, has stepped into your story. Every hour that grief stole, every year that pain consumed, every season that slipped through your fingers is being restored in ways beyond imagination. There is a holy mystery in how God deals with time. He does not rewind it, He redeems it. He takes the fragments of your past and weaves them into a pattern that was always meant to be. The moments that broke you are becoming the very material of your beauty. What once delayed you is now developing you. Nothing has been wasted. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 30, verse 5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. That morning isn't a sunrise on the clock, it's an awakening in the soul. The night you endured wasn't endless, it was preparatory. Darkness taught you what daylight could not. It gave depth to your gratitude and weight to your worship. The night made you sensitive to the faintest light. And now, even the smallest glimmer of hope feels like revelation. You spent years believing you had fallen behind, that life had moved without you, that the timeline of others was proof of your failure. But heaven never measures progress by comparison. God has been working on a calendar different from yours. While you were weeping over what was lost, He was aligning what's next. Divine redemption is not about retrieving the past, it's about transforming it. What once seemed like detours are now doorways. What felt like endings have turned out to be edits. The wasted years are being folded into wisdom. The mistakes that once humiliated you are now becoming holy, reminders that grace still reigns. Remember this, God is not bound by your past. He is building from it. The season you thought disqualified you actually qualified you. Pain carved capacity. Delay sharpened discernment. Loneliness became the furnace where empathy was born. What you lost in time, you gained in depth. You may look back at certain chapters with sorrow, the relationship that failed, the dream that died, the opportunity that slipped away. But redemption means even those ashes are now being turned into ink. God is using what burned to write something new. The pages of your life are not stained with regret. They're illuminated by resurrection. Heaven doesn't erase your past, it sanctifies it. Every broken memory becomes a seed of compassion. Every scar, a testimony of endurance. You are learning that restoration is not about returning to what was, but receiving what could only come after loss. Chosen one. This is why God slowed you down before He accelerated you. He needed to heal your relationship with time. You used to rush to prove your worth, to make up for what you lost. But now you understand, when heaven restores, you don't need to run, you just need to receive. The things that once took years to build will appear swiftly, not through striving, but through grace. The restoration of time isn't about speed, it's about synchronization. God is aligning moments, people, and places to converge in perfect rhythm. The reason you feel a sense of divine déjà vu meeting familiar faces, revisiting old places, is because heaven is rethreading the tapestry of your destiny. You are walking into scenes that feel new and remembered at once. That's not nostalgia, it's prophecy fulfilled. The years the locusts devoured are returning not in the same form, but in multiplied joy. The laughter you lost is coming back, louder. The love you thought was gone is returning purer. The strength that faded is being resurrected stronger. And you, the one who thought you were behind, are now finding yourself ahead, not by human standards, but by divine design. Heaven redeems time by raising purpose from ruins. What took others decades will take you days because your faith has matured beyond fear. So, look forward with steady heart. You are no longer racing time. Time is now running alongside you. The regrets that once haunted your nights have become songs of remembrance. You carry proof that nothing surrendered to God stays wasted. When you look back now, you won't see a graveyard of lost moments. You'll see a garden of restored meaning. Every tear you sowed in sorrow has watered a harvest. You are only beginning to see. Morning is not coming, it has arrived. This is the redemption of time, when pain becomes prophecy, when endings become beginnings, when what was broken becomes breathtaking. The night is over. Chosen one, and the morning light bears your name. There is a whisper moving through heaven's corridors tonight. The chosen one is ready. You've come through the valley, stood through the storms, and now the voice that once called you from darkness calls you into greater works. The journey hasn't been random, it's been rehearsal. Every pain was a prophecy, every battle a training ground for what comes next. You are not standing at an ending, but at an invitation. The Spirit reveals through the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 12, "Whoever believes in me will do the works I have done, and greater things, because Igotu, the Father." That promise wasn't just for prophets of old, it's for you. The time has come for your life to overflow into others. The oil that once healed your wounds is now meant to anoint the world. You've been prepared in private, so you can pour in public. Heaven is now commissioning you, not just to survive, but to serve. The call to greater works doesn't always look grand. It looks like compassion in chaos, integrity in temptation, faith when logic fails. You become the sermon without a stage, the miracle in motion, the living message others can touch. Every act of kindness is a prophecy fulfilled. Every step of obedience is a seed of transformation. You may ask, "Why me?" And heaven answers, "Because you were willing when others were weary." God chooses not the qualified, but the surrendered. You carry the fragrance of humility that opens hearts. That's why people will find peace in your presence, not because of your perfection, but because of your posture. This is the hour for your voice to rise, gentle but firm, bold but tender. The world is starving for authenticity. Be the one who loves loudly, forgives quickly, and believes fiercely. Your story has authority because it cost you something. Let it speak. And as this message finds you, let your heart stay open. When a message like this reaches your spirit, it's not an accident, it's alignment. That means heaven is already preparing new assignments, and you are part of this movement. If this word feeds your soul, nurture the source that nourishes you. When you like, you affirm light. When you share, you scatter seed. When you subscribe, you anchor yourself to a stream that keeps you growing. And if generosity stirs within you, let it flow not as transaction, but as trust. Think of it as watering the well that refreshes you. Every drop sustains the flow for those who will come thirsty after you. Imagine your support, whether through giving, through engagement, or through prayer, as adding another stone to a living altar. Each stone represents gratitude, belief, and partnership. Together, they form a bridge between despair and deliverance. When you give, you aren't funding a project, you're fueling purpose. When you share, you aren't spreading content, you're carrying the message of redemption to the ones who need it most. You become a torchbearer in this relay of light, passing hope from one soul to another. And yes, when you comment, you leave behind a digital footprint of faith. Words matter. They echo. Someone scrolling through the shadows may find your comment, your testimony, and feel a flicker of belief again. Speak light into the comment section as if you were leaving a prayer behind. Because in truth, you are Heaven doesn't ignore the smallest act done in sincerity. A click, a share, a seed. All are forms of worship when done with pure intent. They say to heaven, "Keep flowing, keep speaking, keep reaching through me." This isn't about algorithms, it's about alignment. When light unites, darkness retreats. Each time you interact with truth, you strengthen the bridge. Heaven is building between revelation and restoration. Chosen one, your greater works begin with simple obedience. Feed others as you have been fed. Love others as you've been loved. Let generosity be your language, compassion your currency, and faith your fuel. The world is watching not for perfect saints, but for brave souls. You are one of them. You carry a message, and your life is the megaphone. So walk boldly, speak softly, and keep building altars of hope wherever you go. Heaven watches, smiling, as you take your place among the builders of light. The greater works are not coming, they've already begun, through you. Now, take a moment. Let this word sink in. Reflect. And when you're ready, leave a comment below, a line from your heart, a thought, a prayer. Let it be your echo in this temple of words. Someone will hear it and find courage to rise. There is a sound in heaven that no ear on earth can fully comprehend, the sound of celebration when purpose is fulfilled. It is not the clamor of noise, but the harmony of joy. When one life aligns with divine intention, all of creation rejoices. Chosen one, heaven is celebrating you now. Your obedience has birthed impact. Your faith has become fragrance. Your journey has become a testimony written in light. This is the kingdom's celebration, not about crowns of gold or applause of angels, but about souls awakened and destinies restored. Every yes you've spoken has rippled through eternity. Each time you forgave instead of fought. Each time you loved when it was costly. Heaven marked it as victory. You have become proof that surrender brings glory. The Spirit declares through the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, verse 10, there is rejoicing before God's angels over one sinner who repents. If heaven rejoices for one who returns, imagine the symphony over a life that has not only returned, but now redeems others. That is the melody that surrounds your name right now. You have walked from being a receiver of grace to a vessel of it. You have become a bridge, a living link between heaven's mercy and earth's need. Heaven's celebration is not loud like the world's. It is luminous. The joy that fills the courts of eternity radiates, flowing through realms and reaching even this moment as peace in your spirit. The warmth you feel when you pray, the tears that rise unbidden, the calm that follows chaos, all are traces of heaven's applause. This joy is not a reward for effort. It is the natural consequence of alignment. When a life fits the rhythm of God's will, joy is inevitable. You have learned to move in step with divine timing. You no longer push the river, you flow with it. You no longer fear silence, you find God in it. And in that sacred flow, heaven sings. Think of your life as a song, one that began in whispers of confusion, but is now swelling into clarity. Every note of pain became harmony. Every rest of waiting became rhythm. The composer never left the conductor's stand. Even when you thought the melody was lost, he was writing the next movement. Now, the orchestra of heaven plays your theme, the sound of redemption realized. There are angels whose entire purpose is to celebrate divine transformation. They dance in light, weaving colors that mortal eyes could never see. They do not celebrate possessions or power, but obedience, because in the language of eternity, obedience is beauty. Your faithfulness has painted light into places once grey. This joy also exists in heaven's heart because of what your journey unlocked. You've become an example for others, a map for those still wandering. Someone will watch your story and find direction in it. Someone will hear of your endurance and believe again. The glory you carry now is contagious. It will awaken courage in others simply by your being. Do not underestimate this celebration in heaven always precedes new assignment on earth. Joy is the announcement of readiness. When heaven rejoices, it means the vessel is prepared for greater outpouring. That's why you might feel both peace and restlessness at once. Peace, because you've completed a cycle. Restlessness, because a new one is about to begin. The kingdom celebrates completion, but it also commissions continuation. Heaven's joy over you is not the end. It's the beginning of a larger unfolding, the same way a seed celebrates when it breaks through soil. This joy marks your emergence into a wider field. You've graduated from survival to significance. The applause you sense in your spirit is not final, it's fuel. And yet, even as heaven celebrates, humility keeps you grounded. You know the glory isn't yours, it flows through you. Like stained glass, you let the light through without claiming to be its source. That's why heaven can trust you with more, because you understand the weight of wonder. Take this moment not as climax, but communion. Let gratitude rise within you like incense. The celebration of heaven becomes complete when the celebrated one returns thanks. You are part of a divine exchange. Heaven rejoices over you, and you rejoice in him. Together, Creator and creation sing the same song. It is good. And so rest in this awareness. Heaven rejoices. The kingdom celebrates. And the Father delights in you. You have walked faithfully. And the fragrance of your journey has filled the courts of eternity. The angels dance in light, not because of what you achieved, but because of what you became, a reflection of his glory, a vessel of his grace. The kingdom's celebration is eternal. It doesn't fade with applause, it deepens with love. And now, as heaven zincs, the earth listens for the sound of one life fully surrendered, one heart fully awakened, one chosen one fully alive. There comes a point in every divine journey when you finally understand what it was all for. Every tear, every silence, every moment you thought heaven had forgotten you. It was never punishment, it was preparation. And now, as the light settles around you, you see it clearly. This was always about joy, not fleeting happiness, but the eternal kind that makes even heaven smile. The joy of God is unlike any other. It is steady, timeless, and complete. It is not reactive, it is relational. It does not depend on outcomes, only on alignment. And now, chosen one, you have aligned so deeply that his joy has become your atmosphere. You are breathing in what heaven breathes out, divine delight. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 11, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Oh, you see, God's joy is not a reward given after trials. It is the very presence that carried you through them. It was there in every dark night when you thought you were alone. It was hidden in every moment of peace that made no sense. That was his smile shining through the cracks of your struggle. And now, that smile has become your sunrise. You are no longer chasing blessings, you have become one. The joy of heaven has taken residence in you. You can feel it not loud, but luminous. It hums in your chest like a soft song, steady and unbroken. This is what it means to be known fully and loved completely. Heaven is not merely watching you, heaven is rejoicing through you. The eternal echo of God's joy is not a sound you hear once. It's a vibration that continues forever. Every act of obedience, every word of love, every moment of forgiveness sends another echo into eternity. You are part of heaven's music now. When you speak kindness, heaven harmonizes. When you lift your head in hope, angels join in chorus. You used to wonder if you were doing enough, if your prayers mattered, if your faith made any difference. Look now, creation itself responds to you differently. The winds of circumstance that once resisted you now carry you. The doors that were locked no longer intimidate you, because you've learned that your authority doesn't come from pushing, it comes from peace. God smiles, not because you finally achieved perfection, but because you finally allowed yourself to rest in His perfection. You stopped trying to earn His approval and started living from it. That shift changed everything. You began to see the world not as an enemy to endure, but as a canvas to illuminate. This is the sacred cycle of joy. It begins in surrender, blooms in trust, and overflows in purpose. You are standing in that overflow now. Heaven's joy doesn't isolate, it multiplies. It spreads through you like light passing through glass refracted into colors unseen by the natural eye. The people around you will feel it, even if they can't name it. They will sense peace where there was once panic, hope where there was once heaviness. That is how divine joy works. It transforms presence into healing. You have become what heaven envisioned, not a perfect vessel, but a pure one. Your transparency allows others to see the reflection of God within you. You no longer carry the need to prove anything. The battle is over. The striving has ceased, and peace has taken the throne of your heart. This joy does not fade with circumstances. It isn't threatened by change or chaos. It remains steady as breath, because it is rooted in the eternal. You can now walk through life as one who carries heaven's weather wherever you go. The climate shifts toward light. Chosen one. Know this, the smile of God over your life is not momentary. It's a covenant. It's His eternal declaration that you are His delight. When He looks upon you, He sees not failure, but fulfillment, not potential, but partnership. You have become what He dreamed when He first whispered you into existence. And when the journey feels heavy again, because it will remember this, His joy is not something to chase, but something to return to. It's always waiting, like sunlight behind clouds. Even when you can't feel it, it's still there, surrounding you, sustaining you, strengthening you. The eternal echo continues. The song doesn't end. It simply changes form from prayer to praise, from struggle to serenity, from hope deferred to hope fulfilled. Heaven is not silent anymore. It's singing your name. So rest now in this truth. The story is complete, yet still continuing. God's smile over your life is the final word, and that word is joy. Chosen one. If your heart has felt stirred through these words, it's because heaven has been speaking directly to you. You have walked through shadow and sunrise alike, carrying faith when nothing made sense. But look at you now, steady, luminous, alive. The journey you've endured was not wasted, it was woven. Each thread of sorrow was spun into gold, forming the tapestry of your testimony. The world may never fully understand what it costs to be chosen, the nights of silence, the weight of calling, the ache of surrender, but heaven knows, and heaven rewards. Your life is no longer just your own, it is a living altar, a continuous offering of grace and truth. Wherever you walk, hope follows. Wherever you speak, light responds. As you step forward from this message, do not rush to forget it. Carry it like sacred oil upon your spirit. Remember that every ordinary day is holy when seen through heaven's eyes. Even the quiet moments, washing, working, waiting, are invitations to commune with the one who smiles over you. You were chosen not to escape the world, but to illuminate it. Let your life be the steady flame that reminds others of what's possible when faith meets obedience. The same God who called you will continue to keep you, strengthen you, and surround you with unshakable peace. Heaven's smile over your life is eternal. Walk in that joy, live in that grace, and let your story sing across generations. The chosen one has risen, and the light will never go out.